When you go on a trip, do you ever find the need to connect your device up to a TV, whether it's to work on a bigger screen, stream some media, or play some video games? This happens to me all the time. That's why whenever I go on a trip, I pack no less than my tablet, a USB hub, my SSD to carry all my media, and some cables to connect everything to. And I know most hotel TVs will allow you to log in to stream your devices right on their TV, but I'm a little paranoid about my accounts and I like to keep everything on my own devices. And if this sounds familiar to you, you're gonna love the little gadget I have here for you today. This is the Sharge Disk Pro. It's an SSD and a hub built all into one little compact package that's not really much bigger than a credit card. The Disk Pro comes in 1 to 4 terabyte storage capacities with speeds up to 1,000 megabytes a second. It's also got a built-in fan to keep the SSD cool during long usage sessions. And the hub portion of the Disk Pro has an HDMI connection that supports 4K at up to 144 Hz or 8K at 30 Hz. It's got a built-in USB-C input that supports up to 100 watts and can output a max of 80 watts to charge up some of your bigger devices. It also has a USB 2.0 and 3.0 port for peripherals such as keyboards and mice. So in this video, I'm going to put the Disk Pro to the test. We're going to see how fast the SSD is. We're going to connect it up to some devices, see what it can and cannot do. And there's also one little downside to the Disk Pro that I'll talk about later on in the video. So let's get into it. All right, so here we have the Disk Pro hooked up to my HDMI cable that's connected directly up to my projector. And for some devices, you may not need to plug it into power for it to work. And some other devices you do, and I'll show you that in just a second. So the first device we're going to be using is my Galaxy Tab 10 Ultra. We're just going to plug this directly into the side of the tablet without power, and it should show up on the screen here. And there you go. So this does work without the use of power, and you can also see that the SSD shows up. Right over here, we have USB storage number 1 up to 1 terabyte. So you can also access the SSD to watch movies or anything else. So it's pretty convenient that it does work without power, but if you do plug in the power, it will charge your device while it's casting to whatever device you have it connected to. And then here we have my iPhone 17 Pro Max. Again, we're going to be connecting the Disk Pro directly up to my phone without any power. And the really nice thing is, because the USB Type-C cable is made the way that it is, you should be able to actually plug it into your phone even though there is a case on it. Plug it into the bottom. Should see a little connection at the top here to show it's connected, and it should show up on the screen in just a second. And there you go. And if you're playing YouTube, it'll automatically rotate, and then you can play anything on your phone directly onto your screen. And again, the nice thing that I mentioned before is if you plug this into power, whether it be a wall outlet or if you have a power bank like this, it will charge your device while it's playing anything on your screen. Another thing I was curious about is if the Disk Pro will work with the regular Nintendo Switch. Now, if this is going to work at all, you will definitely need to have this plugged in to an external power source. But if it works, you don't need to carry around that dock with you. So we'll plug this into the bottom here. Screen goes black, and we should see it on the screen, and just there you go. So this will act as a dock for the Nintendo Switch, so you don't need to carry around the actual dock that the Switch came with, which is pretty nice too. And this also does power up your device as well while it's displaying on your screen. Now, another thing I was curious about is, will this work with the Nintendo Switch 2? Well, let's find out. So again, you will need to have it connected to an external power source if this is going to work. So let's plug this in and check it out. And the screen is not doing anything. And it also, surprisingly, doesn't even charge up your Switch. So it doesn't look like this works at all with the Nintendo Switch 2. It won't power, it won't charge your battery, it won't act as a dock. So they must have changed something in the Switch 2 that no longer works. So that is unfortunate. You are also able to hook up your Disk Pro to a laptop that uses USB Type-C. Here I have my MacBook Pro. We're going to be using my LG C2 OLED screen. This TV is capable of doing 120 Hertz, but the Disk Pro is able to do 144 Hertz, but since I don't have that, we're going to just use the 120. It can also do that 8K at 30 Hertz as well. So I'm going to connect this up to my MacBook Pro so you can see how it connects. And it should connect pretty much almost right away. There you go. Now this is kind of small. I'm going to blow it up. Right now it is mirroring my main MacBook screen. We do have the LG displaying at 120 Hertz. That's the highest it can go. And it is at 4K right now. So I'm going to just blow it up so you guys can see it a little bit more. So right now it's on 4K. And we'll put it to 100, or we'll put it at 1080p so you guys can see it a little bit easier here. And as you can see, it is working at 120 Hertz. It's on the LG screen and we're at the 1080p. If I move it over here to the more space, you can see that the resolution is 3840 by 2160. And as far as the motion, super smooth. Also keep in mind, if you want to get the 144 Hz refresh rate, you will need to use an HDMI cable that does support it. Another really cool thing about the Disk Pro is the back is magnetic, so you can easily connect it to your devices, such as my iPhone 17 Pro Max here. We'll unclip the USB Type-C, clip it right onto the back, just like that. You can see it's sticking, and then we can plug this right into the bottom of our phone with the case on it. We'll go into our files, and you can see that the Disk Pro just showed up. So any files, movies, or anything you have on the Disk Pro, you can now access through your iPhone. And if the device you want to connect this to isn't magnetic, you don't have to worry because the Disk Pro comes with these two metal rings with 3M adhesive on the back that you can easily connect to any device, and then you'll be able to magnetically connect the Disk Pro to it. The Disk Pro also comes with this really nice leather pouch so you can easily put your Disk Pro in here to keep it safe while you're traveling. So now we're going to test out the speed of the SSD using my Mac Studio here. It's got the M3 Ultra chip in it, and we're using USB Type-C port. That is the fastest possible right now. So I'm going to connect it up to my Mac Studio. We'll go on to computer, and we can see down here that the Disk Pro will show up right here. There's nothing on the Disk Pro right now. So we're going to do two different tests. We're going to do a benchmark, and then we're going to do a real world transfer, and we'll see what the read-write speeds are for that. So first off, we're going to start off with our benchmark. So it looks like 902 for the write and about 815 for the read. Now I'm not sure why this is showing 937 because it didn't hit that, but we saw what the read-write speeds were for that. So now let's do the real-world transfer, and we'll see what the speeds are there. This file that I'm going to transfer is 47 gigabytes, and it's right from my SSD on the Mac Studio, so it's going to be as fast as possible. And if we take a look here, it's showing that it's going to take about a minute. And if we look at our read-write speeds, it looks like we're doing 754, 55 for the read and about 766 for the write. It is kind of fluctuating up and down, but for the most part, that's what we're getting for the read and write. And the SSD doesn't feel hot, doesn't even feel warm, but if it does start to heat up, it does have an automatic mode, which will turn on the fan if it gets too hot. But you can also turn it on with pressing this little switch here to turn it on to turbo. And that's it. 47 gigabyte file. Let me just show you that it is actually what it is I'm telling you. And here, as you can see, 47.74 gigabytes. So that transferred in about a minute from my Mac Studio onto the Disk Pro. A couple of the really nice features about the Disk Pro is it comes with a fan on and off switch. So if you have a high workflow and you know the SSD is going to be used a lot and it's going to heat up, you can also put it on its turbo mode just by pressing in the button. But by default, the fan will turn on by itself if the SSD gets hot. You can also just use this as a USB hub and not use the SSD inside if you don't want to. So if you're going to be connecting and disconnecting this to a computer or something like that, instead of having to worry about ejecting the disk every time, you can just simply turn off the SSD. You also don't have to worry about having your Disk Pro sitting down on your desk like this because it's cut out in such a way where the input for the fan is a little recessed. So even if you put it flat down, it's still going to get air into the fan and out through the exhaust port. Now, as I mentioned before, there is one downside to the Disk Pro, and that has to do with USB Type-C connection here. You can see that they made this kind of to fit perfectly with their USB Type-C cable that's built in, but if we take a closer look here, you can see that the USB Type-C cable is recessed and it has a very specific round cutout, which means not all USB Type-C cables are going to be able to fit into this port. I really wish they would have made this port kind of flush like all the other ones, but again, like I mentioned, they probably did that so everything kind of fits perfectly and is as compact as possible. So here I have one USB Type-C cable that looks like it should probably fit in here, right? But when you go to plug it in, you just can't push it in because it's just not made for that little hole. But if we take another USB Type-C port, this one kind of looks like it might be a little too wide to fit, but when we push it in, it clips right into place. So you will need to test out your USB Type-C cable with the Disk Pro, and I would recommend if you find a cable that does work with this, make sure you keep them together so you always know that your USB Type-C cable is going to work with the Disk Pro. So after getting to test out the Disk Pro, it does seem to work pretty good, and it's one less thing that I have to worry about in my bag. I don't have to carry around a separate SSD and a cable and a USB hub because this has it built all into one, and it's also really compact. The one issue with the USB port is kind of minor. Again, I wish Sharge would have made these ports all flush like they did the HDMI and USB, but it is what it is, and you just need to make sure that you have a USB Type-C cable that will fit into the port so you can charge up your devices while you're using them. I also really love the fact that the back is magnetic, so you can easily clip it onto pretty much anything, so you don't just have your USB hub dangling from your device. So this is live on Kickstarter right now if you guys want to purchase one yourself, and I would advise you to do it as soon as possible so you can get in for that early bird special, and I will be putting links in the video description. I really like this device, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know by hitting the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.